members of Parliament taking all expenses, paid trips to Florida to talk about how
9 years of the NDP Liberals, costs are up, taxes up, crime's up, time's up. This government has doubled the cost of housing, doubled the debt, forced 2 million people to the food bank, raised taxes, and now they want a 61-cent a litre carbon tax that will grind our economy to a halt. The good news is, in a carbon tax election, Canadians can axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. Can we bring it home now?
The Honourable Minister of Health. Mr. Speaker, maybe I can speak in a language the Leader of the Opposition will understand. They're going to cut the dental. They're going to axe the pharmacare, they're going to break the health system, and they're going to destroy childcare. The difference between those slogans and the nonsense he throws around, the vacuous garbage that's best left for Nabisco, not for the House of Commons, is that's the stuff he's actually going to do. And at some point, he's going to have to look in the eyes of seniors and tell them what he's going to do to dental care. He's going to have to look in the eyes of diabetes patients and say what he's going to do with their diabetes medication. At some time, the vitriol's done and the truth comes.
Colleagues, we're skating pretty close to the line. I'd recommend for members to ensure that they don't do that. The honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I understand that when that member thinks of the prospect of a carbon tax election, he comes unglued and becomes very rattled and loses control of himself, waving his hands around because he's desperate to quadruple the carbon tax to 61 cents a litre. He's desperate to push a government takeover that will shut down people's private drug plans and ban them from having access to their medical plans. Common sense Conservatives will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, stop the crime, and protect your drug plan. How about that?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, this is the guy who said dental care doesn't exist. This is the guy that said providers won't sign up. Well, I got news for you. 750,000 people across this country got care. I also got news for you, Mr. Speaker, and that is more than 80% of providers has signed up. We're getting it done. So he can fearmonger, he can scare people, but we're going to get it done on pharma as well. We're going to make sure that diabetes patients get their medication. We're going to make sure that women get their contraceptive, because that's what freedom looks like. A woman who has choice over her own body.
I'd like to remind all ministers, all members, that answers should be directed, questions should be asked and answers should be directed through the chair. And I'm going to again ask members to make sure we don't skate too close to the line. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
What his plan does is quadruple the carbon tax to 61 cents a litre and imposes a single payer that bans women from using their existing private plans to get contraceptives or any other form of medication. That's what a single payer means. And that is not what freedom looks like, Mr. Speaker. What he actually wants to do is quadruple the carbon tax, which will grind our economy to a halt. It will be a nuclear winter for our economy. Why don't we allow Canadians to vote in a carbon tax election to decide if they're ready to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime?
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll tell you what freedom doesn't look like, and it doesn't look like Conservative members of Parliament taking all expenses, paid trips to Florida to talk about how
the honourable member from Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Vita Lakes, I'd appreciate if he would, when he has his turn, and I know that he'll have his turn to ask questions, would refrain from speaking out of turn. The honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons from the top, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll tell you what freedom doesn't look like, and it's Conservative members of Parliament taking all expensive paid trips to talk at anti-abortion conferences and to push forward an anti-abortion vision of Canada. Mr. Speaker, when he talks about women's rights, he neglects to share his hidden agenda that would take away their reproductive rights. Mr. Speaker, when he talks about freedom, he only talks about half of the story. Mr. Speaker, today what we are doing is demonstrating that this House does not have confidence in the Leader of the Conservative Party.